T minus 60 seconds. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, everybody, to the 5 Foot Viking podcast number 11. This is the podcast where we get to drink a beer and learn something new. So super excited about tonight. We're going to be talking about fitness. We're going to be moving into a new chapter of my podcast because I did the last 9. And then last week's we did a recap on the 9. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how I'm looking at the camera. I'm learning a lot about the technology and a lot about the platform. And so I'm really trying to implement some new stuff in the next couple podcasts. And tonight I'm really excited to have a buddy of mine, Marty McLoughlin. He is from New Jersey. He is the owner and operator of Extreme Fitness. It's a gym over on the East Coast. And I think this is really cool that we're bringing a podcast tonight that is, I Googled this as well. It is literally 2,272 miles apart. So he is on the East Coast. I am on the West Coast. So we're bringing everybody together. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Marty. Marty, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly, my brother. Good to see you.
Excellent. Well, hey, man, seriously, thank you so much for jumping on. I know that with the time difference, it's a late night for you because you, as a personal trainer, have early mornings. So it's
yeah. I've been at it since about 4 a.m. and it's a little after 10 here now. So it's all good, man. Life is short, man.
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's good times. I like yours. Well, hey, first and foremost, thanks for jumping on. It means a lot. And secondly, before we jump into, because I know that you have a very, very interesting story. We met about 4 years ago, and we haven't really had the opportunities to really dive deep into our past. And I was watching a few podcasts of you just recently and hearing a couple stories, and man, I needed to learn a little bit more. So, but before we jump into that, you know very well that this podcast is where we get to drink a beer. So, before we get started, what beer are you drinking over there on the East Coast?
Well, I'm a beer snob. I like to say that. My wife says that all the time as well. I've been a home brewer myself for 25 years. So I love the craft and I love the specialty beers. And we're really blessed. I don't know how it is on the West Coast, but out here, we've had so many awesome breweries pop up in just the last 5 years or so. So the beer I'm drinking tonight is from an awesome brewery in Bensalem, Pennsylvania called Broken Goblet. And I'll try to bring that in.
There we go.
If you are a fan of the band Ghost, you kind of get the symbolism on the can. And it has a great read on the can I'm going to share with you. And it's very fitting, I think, for this time of year when we're trying to move forward from this crazy year. Change is scary. People change. Things change. Situations change. The world changes. The normal becomes the abnormal. The familiar faces become the nameless. Embracing the change is truly accepting the unknown and understanding that sometimes change is good, even if it's scary. This beer isn't the first of its kind, but it represents a change for us, a beer that in flavor captures the familiar, yet embodies so much of the different. Change is scary. And it is. We've been through a crazy year change. And this is a 6.3% Ghost Stout, by the way. So I'll do not everybody, I guess, if you don't know a whole lot about beer, you wouldn't know what that means. But you think of a stout and you think of a nice big dark Guinness style stout. But
chocolate,
as you pour that, it is a lovely,
that's a stout,
light, beautiful. And, it is the craziest experience ever when you see it, because your brain has a totally different perspective on what that should taste like when it hits your palate. And when you smell it, it smells exactly like a beautiful vanilla stout. But when you taste it, cheers to you, my friend.
Excellent. Skål. Yes, indeed.
It is
perfect. You are definitely very eloquent when it comes to describing the beer. I hope to get to that point someday. I'm more of a guy that's like, yeah, it's good. Like I wish I had the palate and the vocabulary to say all that. But tonight, I had to stick with one of my favorite brewing companies out here, because here on the West Coast, yes, I live in Huntington Beach and we're blessed with a lot of great breweries around here. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to have a beer section on the podcast, because there's just so many great new companies that are coming out, and friends of mine who are home brewers as well. So, but for tonight's podcast, I was actually looking to see if I could find a brew from the East Coast that I could drink with you, but I unfortunately I couldn't. So I went to Stone Brewing Company and I picked up a Buena Veza. Buena Veza is a 4.7 lager, and I'm telling you, this is one of those beers that you could drink it all day. You can drink it all day. It tastes great. It never gives you any type of bad, aftertaste or anything. Also, Stone makes this with a michelada mix. That's I think they make the michelada mix as well, and it's made for this, and it's a lime and salt and lime lager, and it is. Yeah, I need to go back and get some of the michelada mix, but I'm drinking a Buena Veza tonight. So thanks for being on. Thanks for drinking a beer with me. Skål.
Pleasure, man. Skål. We I don't know if they call it that on the West Coast. On the East Coast, those beers that you can drink all day, we call those lawnmower beers. We sit on our tractors and we just ride and drink at the same time. It's a good thing. I actually sent a 6-pack of this beer to Chris and Amanda Olivas, because she's a Coast fan. And I should mention too, Broken Goblet, they have national shipping. So when you go to their website, they will send any of their beers right to the door. So give them a try.
Also, so everybody that's at home, if you're watching this, on the description, I put the websites to everything, to Stone Brewing, to Broken Goblet, so you can go to their websites and take a look at everything.
Very cool.
And as we mentioned earlier, we have a couple comments already coming in. We got Brett, my neighbor. Thanks for being here, Marty. Appreciate it.
The honor is mine.
My gorgeous, beautiful, incredible wife, who is in the next room, always supporting Dope Looking Beer Can.
Too, say?
She did. She just had a birthday last week. It was that was a lot of fun. I need me one of those brews. Yes, you do, Mr. Edgar Namrock podcast. He has a podcast coming up tonight. A little bit too late for you because it's 10 o'clock our time. So that might be a little bit too late. We got some skulls coming up, and definitely my dad, who is one of the biggest supporters of all time. He's drinking his vitamin water. I appreciate it's a good thing. Love you, Dad. He's up in Utah, checking in.
Big sky country.
Yeah. So before we jump into everything, I kind of want to talk about the 80s cruise, because you had mentioned the 80s cruise. That's where we met. And I think it's kind of funny. We were talking earlier that, I got on the 80s cruise because I was offered a job to play, and it was incredible, and it's been so much fun. But one of the blessings that came out of it was all the relationships that you build with everyone, because everybody is gravitating and everybody has that same mindset, and it's just been a lot of fun. So, that's how I got involved with it. But how did you hear about the 80s cruise, and what was it about it that helped you gravitate towards going? And you've been on there, what, 4 years in a row now? 5 years in a row?
Yeah, 4 in a row. We graduated last year. It was such an amazing time, man. Before I even answer your question, is just to say, who in the world would have ever expected that you would make friends like that on a vacation? It's never happened in my life. I'm 51 years old, man. I've done a lot of traveling. I love to travel, and we've been to some beautiful places. My wife and I got married in Bora Bora. It was amazing. That 80s cruise is right there, man.
Yeah.
It's the top. I can't imagine anything ever being more fun than that. And but the reality of what happened was, as I own a big personal training facility outside of Philly, and we listen to XM radio in the gym all the time. So my wife and I are big 80s music fans, although a lot of times, at 5:30 in the morning, we're on Ozzy's Boneyard and we're blasting crazy serious metal, and everybody loves it. And by 10 o'clock, there's a different group that comes in, and they're clearly more appreciative of something different. So we have these different flavors of music that go on, but then we would throw on the 80s on 8.
Yeah.
We loved it because there was Nina, there was Mark, there was Alan, and it brought back my memories of being 11 years old and watching MTV pop on, and they started talking about this 80s cruise thing. And, my wife kind of looked at me, and I looked at her across the room, and we both thought, that is the dumbest thing I ever heard, man. Who would go on this cruise? It's got to be so silly. And we laughed it off, and that was the first year, and we missed that year. We didn't go. We just didn't think anything of it. But then we started seeing the pictures on Facebook and listening to some of these stories, and thought and then there was clearly, as there is every year, an amazing list of bands. And we thought, you know what, man, we've been on a few cruises together, and we really dig that. It's a nice way to really disappear from the world. My phone doesn't ring. I can get away from my business. And it's when we're on that ship, no matter where we've been, even in Bora Bora, my phone rings. So there's no phone. We said, let's do it. We'll just see what this is all about. Bro, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
Right.
Man. Oh, my God. So, walking into the host hotel, it was, that people were coming up to us, throwing beads over our necks and welcoming us and bringing us into these groups of people who acted like we were already their friends. And we weren't even on the ship yet. And we thought, this is crazy, man. This is nuts.
It was such like open arms just from the very beginning. And when we jumped on, we had the exact same feeling. When we jumped on there, we were like, how do we know that we were going to get this type of make these type of relationships, and then watch them blossom for 4 years, and grow closer together and talk. And there's friends that I talk with literally almost on the daily now. And yeah, the 80s cruise has been so you missed the first one because you thought it was going to be a joke. And then when you jump on it, you're like, oh, wow, this is pretty freaking incredible.
And you stay in touch with these folks. I mean, like yourself and myself, we do a boot camp at the beach every year down here at the Jersey Shore. And all the folks we know from New Jersey, from Delaware, from Maryland, from the cruise, they all came to the beach. And, we're actually having dinner at the Broken Goblet next week with two folks we know from the cruise, Darry and Tammy and their husbands. So it's just been, I don't know what we would do without it now. We've gone through this year suffering the loss of it. And it's just, we know it's coming. We know we're going to be there next year, and it's going to be just as epic as ever. So,
well, I mean, I'm actually kind of, because we missed the very first one as well. Our lead singer, Billy Mondragon, he was because the 80s cruise, they run a couple other cruise lines, and our singer was on one of the cruises before. He stayed on for the 80s cruise, and he went to the piano bar and sang some Journey songs and sang some this and sang some that. And it just so happens they said, hey, we need another band, put something together and let's make it happen. So that's how we jumped on. But what I did hear is that the very first year, by day number 3, they ran out of beer. That's how awesome we party. This is literally, and they literally ran out of beer and had to jump off of the ship and at a port and go buy more beer, which I think is a testament to our generation.
Oh, drank the ship dry. Where did that ever happen, man? Oh my God. But and it's the only vacation. And I know, people say this all the time. You need a vacation. After
From the vacation.
you are so overwhelmed and you're sleep deprived and you're hungover and you've overeaten and you're overstimulated in every way. But while you're there, you're just riding the wave, man, and you don't feel it until you finally get your feet back on the ground in Florida and you say, Jesus.
Yeah. And you've got a smile on your face the whole time. And yeah. Good. And you know what's been great too is that there's been times that, because when we met 4 years ago, we met on the cruise, we talked a few times, and then throughout the year, we comment here and there on Facebook and stuff like that. And then, but when we get back on the cruise, it was like, you make eye contact from across the ship and you're like, what's up, bro? Like, all right, bring it in. And it's like you never
very
left.
Cool, man. And I have, it's funny, you remember little things, but I guess it was, I want to say it was 2 cruises ago when they had the nightmare on the ship where we all dressed up as whatever we wanted from our favorite 80s horror movies.
Yeah.
You guys were decked out so cool, man.
Yeah. We were like all zombie.
Doing the bit by the ice bar, the tiki bar. And like you said, that's where we kind of caught eyes at one point. And I ran over and got the coolest selfie with you guys, all dressed up. And it's, it's just, I'll never forget it. It was amazing, man.
That's and you know what? That is literally the magic of that cruise. The magic of that cruise is the relationships that you build and how they blossom into, lifetime friendships.
Yeah,
so
can't think of a better way to sell it, man. My wife and I were doing one of those shirt shredding things where, and we're bent over at a table and we're working, and I hear this voice from behind me, and he says, "Could it be? Could it really be?" And I turn around to see who it is, and it's Alan Hunter, and he's standing over me, and he goes, "I thought it was the flea, bro. I really thought he might have got on the ship at the last port, and I thought it was the flea." And that was how we connected. And now every time we see each other on the ship, we stop and we talk, and everybody's on the same plane on that ship, man. And I think it's a wonderful experience for anybody who wish they could go backstage, who wish they could meet a celebrity, who just wants to have the best time ever. That's the go, man.
Open arms journey references. That's right. I know how to put that stuff in. We got a few people jumping on here. My buddy Boris, great to see you, my man. Always a pleasure. Thank you for hanging out.
In there from down in Florida. I recognize that name. What's up, my brother?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Steven?
Yeah, just picked up one of our Extreme Fitness hats online, had it sent down there. We're starting to see our gear pop up all over the U.S. It's
that's
cool,
beautiful.
Man. Having a good time, man.
Well, let's do this. Let's jump in, because I heard some of the stuff on one of the other podcasts, and I wanted to I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to get down to a little bit more backstage. And I use that term because I'm a musician, but backstage with Marty. So let's look at, I think I'm semi-prepared here. There we go.
That is
backstage with Marty. So, couple questions I'm just going to throw out, and then you can kind of just take it from there. I was looking at where did you grow up? Have you always been an active person? Because you're in great shape for 51. You're in great shape for 21. So, and did you always want to be a gym, like a business owner? Is that something that has always been in your growing up, a dream of yours? Walk us through that.
Wow. Yeah. It's a bizarre story, bro. And I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. My journey, really, you would never know how I got to where I am based on where I was. When I was about 5, I woke up one morning and my knees were hurting. And what do you know at 5, and my mom tells me this story more than I remember it, but I complained about it every day. I woke up the next day, they were a little more swollen. They stopped bending. They stopped working correctly. Long story short, I wind up in a doctor's office. They send me to the hospital for some tests. Turns out I have juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And by that point, my knees were so swollen that they wouldn't bend at all anymore. So I was going through these treatments where they would take these, as a 5-year-old having one of those hypodermic needles.
Oh.
And they have 3 or 4 nurses trying to hold me down, and they're sticking these needles in my knees and draining all this fluid out. It was a nightmare. At one point, I spent about 2 weeks in the hospital because the inflammation was just so great. If they drained them on one day, they were filled again the next, trying to get me into a whirlpool to walk. So there was a period of time pre-first grade where I spent time in a wheelchair because that's just the way my life was going. And no one really knew at the time what to do. Motrin, Advil, ibuprofen wasn't invented yet. So all they had for me was children's aspirin, and who knows how many of those they were
And
having.
Jägermeister.
No wonder my dad drank so much. I get it now. All I did was cry. And so, and then I had God bless her heart, Mom, I love you so much. She was just super protective, still is to this day. Don't run, don't do this, don't do that. You can't do this, you can't do that. So for a long time, my whole life was about everything I can't do, what I shouldn't do. And I was very lucky. By the time I was probably in about 3rd grade, it just backed right off, kind of went into a state of remission. And I still to this day have flare-ups, not just in my knees, but all over my body. But it got to a point where I was functional. I was able to do things. And
is that something that's similar to a does it have something to do with like a chemical imbalance or anything like that? Like what is that called? Gout? Like where it's a buildup of lactic acid? Like, is it something similar to that?
It's actually an autoimmune disease that they don't really have a specific trigger for, but your body starts to treat the connective tissue, the soft tissue that covers your joints, as an enemy and attacks it and tries to break it down and destroy it. So you wind up with this incredible inflammation where if the soft tissue does get eroded, then you have bones touching bones. If you're young enough, sometimes that collagen will grow back. If this happens to you late in life, rheumatoid arthritis, you're in really big trouble. Then you're looking at joint replacements and things like that. So I was fortunate to be diagnosed with JRA, but at that point, what do you do with a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old that doesn't understand pain, doesn't know what to do with it, wants to run and play with all the other kids. And then at school, you get that tag. You're the guy that when it's time to select teams at gym class, you are always picked last.
That's a burn.
Nobody wants you. And they have nicknames for you. And it was hard, bro. I really lived a very challenging life. And so what was the off for me was I got smart. I just decided to be a good student. I loved to read. I loved music. There's never been a day of my life gone by that I did not put a record on, turn on my iPod. There's music. I got to have it in my life. I had a great collection of records. And when I couldn't go out, when I couldn't run, when I couldn't play, I put a record on. And music was and always will be a saving grace for me.
And this was all in Pennsylvania, or?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Levittown, which there's 2 of them. There's one in New York and there's one in Pennsylvania. And they were built in the 50s by a man named George Levitt. And his idea was to create this beautiful little utopia where people coming back from the war would be able to set up their homes, raise families. They built these 1- and 2-story homes, sometimes in a single day. And they called them sections, and each section may have had 200 houses or 300 houses in it. Every section was named after a tree. I lived in Apple Tree. There was Dogwood. There was Blue Ridge. There was Crabtree. And so there were all these little spliced out neighborhoods where people went out back and they talked to each other over their back fences. We borrowed sugar from one another. It really was an amazing place to be that was full of children. There's kids everywhere. So
Wow.
I never needed anything to do. I never needed to make a friend. Trying to be part of those cliques was my biggest issue growing up. And I really didn't have too much of a plan with where my life was going to go until I started to get into high school and got my first job on a landscaping crew, because that's just what we do out here as young kids. The adults don't want to dig the holes. Give it to the 15-year-old or the 16-year-old. He'll dig the hole.
Hey, you want to make some money? That'll
I
work, right?
Dude, I wanted video games, bro. I couldn't wait to get some money, man. By that point, my parents had been divorced for many years, so I was a single child. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was working multiple jobs, trying to just keep the house and keep our lives going. So there was nothing unless I found a way to do it myself. I delivered newspapers when I was a kid, became a landscaper, and then realized I don't want to dig these holes anymore, man. I want to do what that guy's doing, and that guy's doing the drawing, and he's the architect. So
So you've always been an entrepreneur. You've always thought outside of the box. You've always went out and find ways to make things happen.
yeah, find a
I,
way to make, just always making money, always working, man. I
I
can't
love
imagine
it.
not doing it, but I want money. I want to work. I want to have
Hmm.
things. And
Very
made the
cool.
decision to hit the only farm school on the East Coast, which is now Delaware Valley University, and that's where I went to college to become a landscape architect. And personal training, owning a gym was never in my sights.
Really?
Never. I wish it would have been, but it wasn't. I loved being outside. I loved creating things. I loved that aspect of life. It's all I knew. I worked that life every day. And
How long? So you started doing landscaping in your teens. Did
yeah.
it move into your 20s, like after high school? And did you do the manual labor part, or did you go to school and maybe get a degree and get into the architect's side of it?
Yeah, I did. I did all the labor work straight through college, and then when I graduated with two majors. One for ornamental horticulture, which I felt like I kind of needed, because if I'm gonna be an architect and put plants on it, I need to know what these plants are. So I get qualified in that, and then I also got the landscape architecture degree, so
Wow.
I'd be able to do all of those things, not just on a residential level, but I wanted to do it on a commercial level for shopping malls and airports.
Excellent.
So it was a lot of work, and I
Mhm.
graduated college in '92 and had a job 2 days after graduating doing what I thought was going to lead me through the rest of my life. I already had I had a 1-year-old by then. I was married. My first son was born in '91, and then my second son was born in '95. And about a year after he was born, my wife just kind of came to me one day and said, Marty, I'm not cut out for this. I don't really dig being married. I don't like being a mom. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I just want out. I want to go. And
What? Wait.
yeah, this is a true story, bro. I can't make this up.
And she just bounced.
I called my dad, my another one. God bless you, Dad, my Irish dad, and said, Dad, tell me what to do. And he said, did she look you in the eyes when she said it? I said, yeah. She looked me right in the eyes. He goes, you got to let her go then. It's done.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what I said. If you want to go, go. And she left, and she never came back, bro, at all.
Have you had any contact whatsoever as far as like with the kids and stuff?
Oh, well, for them, there was a point about, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so later, that she popped in, but it was really kind of like a hello and goodbye. It never turned into serious.
That's frustrating.
It was hard for them. So this is probably 92. So maybe we're in 96, 97, and there I was, a single dad, 2 boys, trying to do a job that required I get up at 5 a.m. and sometimes get home at 10 at night, because if I'm going to talk to homeowners or business owners about what we want to do, I got to meet them at 8 o'clock at night and talk to them. So I was borrowing from everybody, my neighbors, my family. Can you watch my kids? By the time I probably had watched about 6 months of them having somebody else get them to school, having somebody else get them home. It wasn't sitting right. And all this time, answering another one of your questions, from the time I was 12, I was walking myself to the YMCA, going to the gym. The gym is my other refuge in life to get rid of stress. And it was never to be big or be strong or anything. It just felt good. It felt like something that was helping to alleviate stress. I had joined a big LA Fitness out here on the East Coast, and one of the fitness supervisors came to me one day and said, bro, you should be a trainer here, man, because I watch people come up and ask you what to do more than they're asking my staff what to do. So why don't you get certified? So that's how I ended up there.
That actually leads me into something right now, which I think is kind of a perfect segue. I want to talk about fitness and nutrition, and because I mean, when I jumped on the 80s cruise, you're absolutely one of the most fittest individuals on the cruise anyways. And like every time I walk around, like I get to the pool and I'm like, I look and I see you with your shirt off and I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave mine on. I get because you just look so great. And you can tell that you care about not just the physical aspect of it, but the nutrition side as well. And so when you were talking right now about like certifications and stuff like that, did you go out and get, because you already had the, landscaping and that, and you remove, but now that you're using the gym as your refuge, have you gone out and gotten any type of certificates with like, because you're obviously smart and you're obviously, you love to be a student and gain knowledge. Did you get certificates in nutrition or in physical fitness or in anything like that?
Yeah. And I really have never stopped. I made a choice when I got certified to be just a level 1 personal trainer, to go after a certification that required I continue my education. And a lot of guys, here, they don't do that. There's ways you can get certified, and they choose that certification very specifically because they never have to go back to school again. They get that cert. That's it. They think they're at the top of the food chain. And, when I got certified, I had a great teacher, and he just said, look, when you get out of this, you're going to be the worst coach ever. And a couple of years later, you're going to be an okay coach. And a couple of years later, you're going to be a good coach. And a couple of years later, you're going to be a great coach. And if you're lucky in this lifetime, you're going to be the kind of coach that people beyond your little circle know who you are. And that was what I wanted. And I know all trainers want that, and they probably think that they are a little too soon. But there's so much to know about the human body, dude. It is the most fascinating thing ever. And I've chosen to keep mentors in my life, physical therapists and chiropractors and orthopedic surgeons that I am extremely friendly with. And we meet and we talk about the body. And 3 nutrition certifications I have so far, 2 different plant-based certifications, a sports conditioning certification. So,
well, that's one thing that interests me. My wife leads I wouldn't classify it as vegan, but it's definitely like 90% plant-based. She really tries her best to eat everything plant-based. So basically that means I eat everything plant-based too. So here in the house, literally, I would probably say about 99% of everything in our house is plant-based. And the only time that I eat something that is not plant-based is when we go out and I'll have some tacos or something like that. But in our house, our footprint is almost 100% plant-based. So you actually went out and got a degree in, or got a certification in plant-based nutrition?
Yeah. Fascinating stuff, man. And I know a lot of people ask me, are you a Netflix guy? Have you seen the movie Game Changers? And if you haven't, put that on your list. It's a great movie. But to see a guy that everybody recognized, like Schwarzenegger, say, you don't need all of that protein. You can just go with the and you start to say, wow, what was I thinking all this time? But it starts to make sense. And I'm still a carnivore. You can't take meat away from me. I love it. I eat all varieties of it. But I think similar to what you're saying is, my wife and I probably live about a 80% plant-based lifestyle. It feels good. The energy I get from that, the way my body recovers from workouts, the way I sleep, my mood is more stable. My joints hurt way less. There's a truth to foods being inflammatory, and learning about all that was critical for me, man.
Well, here's just a quick question off topic. Well, not on, it's on topic, but off of itinerary. But my, something that you would recommend, because people who would like to, maybe they don't know how to live a plant-based life. Let's give them one recommendation, like, hey, substitute this for this.
The thing to try to do is not to feel like you have to eat broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus in this. People have issues with vegetables, and I get it. My advice to everybody is, look, pick the vegetable you like. Maybe it's corn, maybe it's carrots, doesn't matter what it is. And try to eat that vegetable every single day. If you don't get bored of it, eat it every day. I wouldn't spend too much time trying to make substitutions. As I'm looking in the comments, bro, there is no life without snickerdoodles. Just so you know, no life without it.
That is my dad.
Snickerdoodles in your life, dude. You got to keep them. My issue in life, my cheat, if it ain't a cheeseburger, is a cookie. I love cookies, and they're in my diet. I have a one cookie every day. My wife is a great baker. And it solves that. But, you have to find a way to make sure that you're at least getting a vegetable in your body every day. And then for a lot of folks, after 7, 8, 9, 10 days of that, they start saying, wow, I can feel how that's different for me. Maybe it's a little different about how you get off the toilet in the morning. Maybe it's a little different about how,
maybe it helps you get on the toilet a little bit more.
Exactly. You're not struggling blowing out blood vessels or anything, but there's always a benefit, man. So,
wow, is there you watching me? No, I like what my wife, she put up there. She said, eating mostly plant-based has been the best change in my life, physically and emotionally. Yeah. And my wife is, to tell a family secret, the reason why she kind of went more in that direction was she's a big animal activist. Wow. So she that was her main reason. It wasn't to live a more healthier life, but living a more healthier life was definitely a byproduct of her choice.
And what a side effect that is, right?
Right? How awesome is that?
Oh God, come on, it's great, man.
It's beautiful. So with the certifications that you got, were you getting these certifications only for your own personal knowledge, or at that point were the gears turning about opening up some type of business?
How I wound up opening the business was I stayed with that LA Fitness Club for probably about a year and a half. And I think most trainers at some point start to develop their own style. This is how I do things. This is what I do. And there was more than one occasion where the manager of the club kind of came to me and set me aside and said, look, we just want you to calm it down a little bit. Keep your people in the machines. Don't take them over to that area and have them doing all your push-ups and burpees and things like that. Just keep them in the machines. And I thought, but they hired me because they don't want to be in the machines. This is how I'm developing inside your gym and I'm making you money at it. But it wasn't following the corporate profile. So I started taking people into one of the racquetball courts to get them away from where everybody was. And outside the racquetball courts was probably, I don't know, it's a big club, 35 treadmills. And eventually there would only be people on the treadmills right in front of that racquetball court because all they wanted to do was watch what was going on in the racquetball court. But they came to me a second time and said, look, we're not going to have this conversation again. And I talked to one of my clients at that point who was a retired financial advisor for Verizon out here on the East Coast. And he said to me, you know what, Marty, you're meant for something more than this. I would love to put a business plan together for you and help you organize the start of your own business if you're interested in me doing that for you. I thought, oh my God, this is a gift I can't pay back. Please do that. So we met and spent about 2 hours going over a 4-year business plan that he put up for me and just basically said, look, this is what you have to do. These are the changes you have to make when it's this time. And if you do this right, by the time you get to the end of this business plan, you should be here financially. And so I took the risk. I quit my job at LA Fitness. And well,
let's do this. I love how we're segueing into stuff. This couldn't work out better than I wanted. But literally the next bullet point that I had was Extreme Fitness PA. Yeah. Now, and this is literally from what your transformation from working at the LA Fitness and moving into, hey, I'm doing my own thing. And first of all, the fact that you have somebody close to you that can reach out and say, hey, let me help you, let me put this together, and someone who's a professional, that is just a beautiful thing that they can help you, get up and get to that next, take those steps to because the initial business plan, the initial startup cost, the initial, putting everything together and making sure that all the little pieces work. That's the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to get it started. And then once you get it started, you maintain and you move up and you maintain, you move up and you do things. But that initial putting everything together is so ridiculously hard. So the fact that you had somebody there is beautiful.
It was the biggest gift, one of the biggest lifetime gifts ever, man. And I know that some people think of business owners, not just personal trainers, but all business owners, that small business owners, organically grown businesses, that it just, how hard could it be? You just go get some business cards made and start your business. And sure, that's easy. But being able to stay in business, this for me is going back to 2000. So it's 21 years ago that I took this jump.
Wow.
And, outside of organizing it all, the one mistake I would have made, and he told me this, and then several years later, I happened to get another once in a lifetime one-on-one meeting with Jack LaLanne, and getting to speak to him was amazing. And he almost exactly parroted what this man said to me was, listen, charge what you're worth. Don't undersell yourself. If you look around at the rest of the people in your business and you try to compete with that, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get any better. You're going to be stuck in the same loop that they're stuck in, and you don't want to be there. You want to get out of that circle as fast as possible. So I actually let him set my price points, which was way different than I would have done for myself. I'm a humble guy and would have never gone that route. But
and that was back in 2001, 2000?
Yeah, 2000. And I started this business in my house. So, getting back to these little Levittown houses as they were, I had 2 vacant upstairs bedrooms. Each one was probably, 150 square feet. They were 10 by 12, 10 by 15, very small rooms. And I converted each one of those rooms into a little tiny workout space that had a bench, had some barbells, some dumbbells, some bands, some balls. I had a treadmill. And I left the big gym with about 3 or 4 people that said, yeah, I'll go with you. If you go, I'll do this. And that's all I had. So, I had to hope this thing, it should have never worked, Whit. There's no way it should have worked.
Okay. So, looking at some of the comments, first we have, our buddy, Mikey,
what's up,
brother? The drummer from Jesse's Girl.
What a great guy. Great friend to me.
Absolutely. Just an incredible drummer. Lots of fun. Can't wait to see you. Missed you this year because we're not on the cruise, bro. And I'm, as we said, 2,200 and something miles away. But looking forward to jamming with you again in another year. My buddy Boris brings up a good comment right here. Boris says, I used to be the guy who hated gyms back in my country. Growing up in a farm, and the working for the oil rigs was enough to keep me insanely fit, tired as fuck, but insanely fit. Then I come to America, 6'1", 178 pounds. Then I got to 305 pounds within months. Such a struggle to lose that weight away. My question to you, I know that I'm pretty sure we can already say that diet is most likely a big factor, but for someone who's like Boris, who is insanely busy with his job, what type of physical, workouts would you, just a quick recommendation for him to get out there and start something to be consistent?
Well, the thing is 2 things need to be consistent in order to get it started. Number one, it doesn't matter what you're eating, whether it's good or bad. What you're eating needs to be consistent. So if you know that I wake up and I have, Frosted Flakes for breakfast and I have an Egg McMuffin next, and then I have a couple of donuts, it is what it is. When you have the same amount of food, the same type of foods going in almost every day, we know that your intake is measurable. It's not doing this kind of a thing. That makes life much harder to manage. If it can get relatively steady, then we just have to find a way to start burning more calories in a day. Whatever it is you like to do. You could walk, you could join a gym if you want and get on a treadmill. You could do light calisthenics in the house. You could swim, you could bike. You have to find a way
to find an oil rig that you can go work on in California, bro.
They gotta have one virtual reality by now, right? So
There's a game on Xbox or Wii. It's on Wii Fit that you work on an oil rig with virtual. I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
get a drum set, bro. I'll tell you what, right now, man, you just
Yeah.
sit there burning calories. It's amazing. You might sound like shit, but that's all right. You're burning calories, man. But you know, you got to find. We must move. That's
Yeah.
it. And the more we move, the better. We'll flash back to earlier in the conversation. Bars, man, start eating a vegetable. Pick one thing every day, and think about making the change. The one thing that America is going to do to you, if you didn't live here before, is make you heavy, man. Our diet sucks. Food is too convenient, man. There's a fast food place on every corner, and damn, that food looks good. It smells good. It might even taste good. But if you can break away from it for 2 weeks and eat something good, just commit yourself. I'm just going to give this a 2-week go, and that's it. And then you go back and eat that Big Mac. You're going to go into the bathroom and want to throw it up. Then you're going to feel how awful that food is. And for a lot of people that I work with, 10 days in, they try to go back. And they realize what they were tolerating at that point, and it's a game changer for a lot of people, man.
Yeah. Well, here's something too. My buddy Alex Skoll. I love this guy because every time when he comes into one of our shows, he's way at the back, and I'm on stage, and I can see him walk in, and he walks in like this. He just walks in like he's just flexing. So, but he brings up a good question here. He says, "What are your thoughts on kettlebell movements?"
Love the kettlebell, bro.
Yeah,
and people hate the kettlebell because its physics are incredibly challenging. It's significantly different than anything you'll do with a dumbbell. But the physics of the kettlebell, specific movements of the kettlebell, really encourage all muscles of your body to be doing something at the same time. So from a cardiovascular capacity standpoint, from a full body strengthening standpoint, from how many calories can I burn per minute standpoint, the kettlebell is your friend, man. And I always say to everybody, and we teach kettlebell work in our gym every day. If you grab onto a kettlebell and you stand up with it with 2 hands and you can lift it above parallel without moving your body, it's too light. You're doing it wrong. Get a kettlebell that you cannot lift, because most kettlebell movements are based on momentum, and you need to move. You need to throw your body into these movements, and that's why they're wonderful. But guys, kettlebell movements are very intense. They're very hard, and you should learn.
That's one thing that I listened to I was listening to your podcast that you did a few months ago, or almost a year ago, maybe. And you were talking about, this was at the beginning of the lockdowns, maybe about 40 days in. And I know it was a rough time. And you had mentioned that there were certain people that, hey, you might be going out and watching a recorded workout from a YouTube or something like that, and you're doing it at your house and you feel like you're doing well. The problem is when you're at that point, I think you had mentioned that you might be doing the moves wrong and you don't know it.
Correct.
So when it comes to kettlebell movements, because they're so they use a lot of momentum, they're very intricate movements. Is that something that you should really master before you start taking on heavier weight?
Oh yeah. For me, and as silly as it sounds, at some basic certifications, for example, you don't have to be a personal trainer in order to take a low level kettlebell certification. And you can find them if you like to do things online. That's one way to do it. My issue generally with online certifications is there's nobody watching you in real life to make sure you're actually proficient, that you're doing these things correctly. So you may be able to find within driving distance of your house a good workshop. Maybe the workshop's happening at a gym. Maybe it's happening at a hotel. They do these things around, but you really, really will appreciate what it can do and understand all the ups and downs, ins and outs of a thing like a kettlebell by being taught. And, YouTube University and Google University, man, you watch these people doing amazing things. And it's at the physical therapists I know, when all this time lockdown's been going on, and they joke, but they're not joking. They say every single time I'm sitting there watching the TV and I see another Peloton commercial go on, I know I'm paying off another beach house, man. because these people are going to keep hurting themselves right in their living room. You know, so, you know, we all do what we got to do, man. But you know, there's a reason why people like myself made choices over the past 21 years to get 30 different certifications. I didn't want to be the trainer that could just be the guy with a pickup truck that would say, yeah, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. I wanted to know I could do that. And the more I did that, the more it changed the niche of the people I was working with. And they became more professional. They became higher level athletes. They became more dedicated individuals who wanted to learn and wanted to know, wanted to feel that they were being taught by an educated professional. So that's what's really pushed me to constantly continue my education, man. Learning is a great thing.
Here's one more from my dad. I know my dad has been huge on juicing and things like that. And he says, do you recommend replacing a meal with juicing veggies on a daily basis?
I would recommend doing what they call an emulsification rather than a juicer. So like I own a Jack LaLanne juicer, not just because I met him. I love the juicer. It's a great thing. He makes a great product. I also have like a Vitamix or a NutriBullet. Difference between the emulsification and the juicer is that you put all your vegetables and your fruits into the juicer. The juicer liquefies it, strains out all of the pulp, and gives you just the liquid. So it's perfectly drinkable. A lot of people have issues with texture and things, and I get that. On the other hand, the emulsification, you put all your fruits and vegetables right into that device, shred it, and everything stays there. The benefit of the emulsification over the juicer is that when you drink the emulsification, which is loaded full of pulp, you're getting all the benefits of the fiber, which is helping to lower your bad cholesterol. It's helping to keep you motile in your intestines. And most importantly, it's slowing down how fast the sugars from those fruits and vegetables can enter your bloodstream. When you just drink the juice, it's packed with vitamins and minerals, but it's the same. Your body's going to treat it the same way as if you drank a Pepsi. The sugar is
just going to shoot it right into your bloodstream. Right.
So you have this massive insulin response. You have a body fat storage response. You have an insulin crash response that when you have the emulsification, you do not experience. And the fiber is key. Most people are not getting nearly enough fiber to ward off things like colon cancer and other things. So juicing is great. Do you need that every day? If you're trying to manage your body weight, I would say no. I'd say try to stick with something like an emulsification instead. Doesn't mean that a couple times a week you can't have a juice, because it's amazing and it's wonderful. But keep thinking of that juice as a nutrition-packed soda. And if you're not the kind of guy or girl that would drink soda, then maybe that would lean you towards the other way. But that's one great way to get more vegetables and fruits in your life, though. Either way, man. So
I like it. That's wow. That's packed with a lot of knowledge right there. And I know that we're backtracked just a little bit into nutrition. I know that right now our segment is extreme fitness. What I did want to talk about is I listened to one of your podcasts as well, where you talked about the journey from because now you have been in business since 2000. So when you're going from, you went from your apartment, 2 bedrooms in this, and now you're in a facility that is like 1 million square feet. So tell us on that journey. You had a small gym, you reach critical mass, you move up to something else, you keep pouring into it, you hit critical mass and you move up. How long did it take you to get to where you're at now?
So the business stayed in my house for almost exactly 1 year. And, God bless my kids, man. My first client was the senior writer for the biggest newspaper in the area where we live. So he would be in at 6 o'clock in the morning. He'd come right upstairs, knocking on my door at 6 a.m. He'd come in, go upstairs, start running on a treadmill, which was right above my kids' room downstairs. Boom, 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 boom. And, every once in a while, someone would go flying off the back of the treadmill and slam into the closet door. I mean, I could tell you stories all day, but regardless of that, it worked, and they started telling people, and more people came, and more people came. And it just finally got to a point where I had to get my house privacy back. You know, my kids needed to have their space. And so I put an exterior building up in the backyard that was about 400 square feet. We have folks out here on the East called the Amish. I don't know if you ever heard of the Amish, Pennsylvania Dutch. They are amazing, old school from back when the country was first settled, and they still live the same way. They still go horse and buggy, and they build sheds like nobody's business. So they came out and they had to build me a gigantic shed, basically, that was built to code as if it was going to be an apartment, so I could have a legal business in there. It was heated, it was air conditioned, it was lit, and I moved all of my equipment out to that. So for the next almost 3 years, I ran it right in the backyard in a building and thought, I'm okay with this if it stays as a home-based business. But I knew it was going to outgrow that. And what could I do? Am I going to hire another trainer and have him come to my house? You know, I was getting to that point. And this is where I'm sure you're going to say this. It's going to lead into another one of your segues, bro. Then something happened that you won't believe the story, bro. I have so many crazy stories. As I literally had made the decision to go and look at my first commercial location, a 1,000 square foot building out on a very busy business highway in the area. And I was going to sign a lease on that property the next day. I had gone and looked at it. This is what I want. I'll come back tomorrow. I have the lease in my hand. I just want to take it to an attorney, let it get looked over. I'll come back and get this thing rolling. That same day, I got a phone call from one of my clients who was a massage therapist. I would go to her house for massage. She had an awesome golden retriever named Lucy. She said to me, you know, Marty, I just thought I'd let you know. I know every time you come over here, you're playing with Lucy in the yard until it's your turn, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to have to put Lucy down. And I thought you might want to come by and say goodbye. So there was no way I wasn't going to go. I had a Yamaha V-Star 1100, man. I loved my motorcycle. I rode it over to her house, played with Lucy for a little bit, said my goodbyes, and it was starting to get a little dark. I'm like, look, I don't like riding the bike at night, man. I'm out of here now. I'm going to go. So I left her place and was driving down the road that literally was 1.5 miles away from my house. As they say, you know, you're more likely to get into an accident within 2 miles of your home than anywhere else.
No.
And as I'm going down the road, I'm looking up ahead. There's a bar on the right side of the road that I'm driving. I see a minivan getting ready to pull out. And I'm looking at the driver, you know, as I'm approaching, the driver's looking at me like I'm looking at you, man. You know, there was not a bone in my body that thought anything was going to go wrong here, man. I was in second gear, pulled the clutch. I'm into third. I released the clutch, and she just came out. She just flew right out, and she flew out so poorly. It's a 4-lane highway. I was in the inner lane. She didn't even make it into either of the opposite lanes to go the other way. She wound up directly in my lane. And the last thing I remember seeing before I tried to lay the bike on its side was, I'll never forget her face. It was just so she never saw me. I was invisible to her. I laid the bike down on its side, and I came right into the driver's side front end into the headlight area. And the impact was so great that my nuts completely crushed the gas tank down to the frame. And then the physics takes place, right? So you go down into that, and then everything explodes back the other way. And I was ejected off the bike all the way over the entire minivan, and I landed on the back of my head in the middle of the 4 lanes. And when I hit the ground, you know, it's like this sound that came out when I hit the ground. And then yeah. And the last tumble I made, I landed on my hands and my knees. And I lifted my head up, and then whoosh, another car went right by my face. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm in the middle of the road. What the fuck? Holy Jesus. I stood up in the road, and I looked at myself. I'm like, oh, my God, my arms aren't broken, man. My legs aren't broken. This is insane. I was all road rashed. Yeah. And I thought, I got to get out of the road. So I turned around, and I walked across 2 lanes of traffic, got into the parking lot of that bar. And, you know, the power of endorphins are literally astounding, man. Your body will do what it needs to do to get you out of danger. It's amazing, because as soon as I got off the road and got onto the parking lot area, man, It felt like somebody had stuck a shoehorn in between two of my vertebrae in my neck and was trying to pop my head off. I thought, oh my God, all right, there's definitely something wrong with my neck. So I sat down, I laid back on the pavement and thought, somebody's going to come and help me, man. This is, there's cars, there's somebody's got to come. So all of a sudden, this woman's face comes over me. She's standing looking directly over me, and she says, "Are you okay?" I said, no, I'm really, really not okay. I need you to dial 911 right now.
Yeah.
And she never moved. She just kept looking at me with this blank face. And I thought for a second, maybe she doesn't speak English really well. I'm like, I need you to dial 911. And then, I got to do this. So she's standing over the top of me like this, and she just starts going.
Slowly backing up.
Dude, slowly backing up. Now, I can't turn my head to see where she's going. I'm looking with my eyes right out of the corner, and I'm like, okay, she's going to go get help. She's going to go get help. Then I hear a door shut, like a car door, and I hear a couple of clicks going on, and I'm like, what's that? What's this? So turns out, long story short, she had just gotten out of a 30-day alcohol treatment program that day. She got out of the program. She got in her van with no insurance, no license, no registration. And
no.
Take out to take out to take out all day. She got out at 10 a.m. She hit me at 7:30 p.m. And she just drank and drove all day until she hit me head on. She got in her van and she drove past me in the parking lot to go around the back of the bar thinking there was a rear exit, and there was not. So she had to turn around, come back and drive past me a second time laying in the street, and she left. I heard the van drive away. I'm looking up at the stars and I'm like, okay.
And did somebody else come by?
Oh, yeah, Mike, everything. I couldn't, my hand looked like a big balloon. It was swollen. I'm like, I'm going to die.
Wait, this is East Coast. Do you have helmet laws there? Were you wearing a helmet?
No, sir.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, no.
Bro.
Yeah, it was a thing, man. Like the wind in my face. I loved it.
Well, yeah.
Man. Muscle shirt on, man. At least I had steel-toed boots on and long pants, right? So,
oh my God.
As I said my piece. I'm a Catholic guy. I went to 12 years of Catholic school, said the piece to God, asked him to take care of my kids, and figured I'm just going to die here. I probably have internal bleeding. I don't know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I heard a woman's voice that said, I don't know if that van that just pulled out of here was the one that hit you, but I got its license plate and I called an ambulance. They're coming for you. So funny story now, all of a sudden then this guy leans over my face. He's white haired. He's got a beautiful white haired braid hanging way down towards the ground. And he goes, bro.
He was probably Viking.
It probably was. He said, well, you knocked out when you got hit, man, because you look like a rag doll, bro. Your arms were flopping all around when you went flying in the air. I'm like, nah, dude. I was awake the whole time, man. I remember it all.
Yeah.
Goes, bro, is there anything in your pockets I need to get out?
Oh, that's a homie right there.
Dude,
that's a homie right there.
I was totally spaced out. I'm like, what? He goes, because something like this happened to me once, man, and I got fucking arrested, man. So if I can get something out of your pockets, just tell me. I said, no, I don't have anything on me, bro.
Hey,
thank you so much.
You know what? You didn't have anything on you, but that's a home. That should be one of your friends for the rest of your life.
Ever, bro. Wow. So anyway, to the hospital I go. Turns out I broke C5, which is the paralyzing vertebrae, and
and this is in what year?
This is in 2006.
Okay,
and,
2006.
I had the whole left side of my body was paralyzed, and the trauma doc came in and he said, "What do you do for a living, bro?" I said, "I'm a personal trainer."
I own a gym.
Yeah, I'm a personal trainer, and he said, "Not anymore. You're not. Let's just hope we can get you walking again." My mom,
no shit.
She fell apart, and he just walked out. And and I tell this story a lot when I talk to kids. I'm a motivational speaker out here, and that's where I just go right into guys. These fifth graders, don't you ever let somebody tell you can't do something, man. Mm-hmm. What a son of a bitch that guy was to walk in there and say that to me. I'm like, Mom, don't cry. I'm going to get through this thing somehow. I got to get through it. And for a long time, it didn't look like I would. I spent the next 6 months in a hospital bed in my living room. I couldn't get out. I couldn't walk, not even with a walker. I was using a bedpan. I had to have people serve me food. Some of my clients at the time still paid their bills. A chiropractor I worked for as a personal trainer earlier in my career paid my mortgage for me. I mean, people, the kindness of people, it's what's made me find a way to give back to my community as a business owner ever since. But the strange thing that got me out of that bed, bro, and got me back on my feet was I got a letter. It was, a regular official letter size thing, had a gold seal on the outside. I didn't think anything of it. I ripped it open. I have this letter hanging in my gym, and it says, "Dear Marty, Maria and I heard about your accident, and we just wanted to tell you how sorry we are, and it's time for you to get out of this bed. Your people need you." And it was just this great motivational letter about getting out of the bed, signed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. So who did I know that knew him, got him to pen this letter to me? And I always say this as well, when I read it through the first time and I got to the bottom and saw it was signed by him, I immediately read it again. And then the second time I could hear my voice.
You read it in his voice.
I'll tell him, get out of the bed now, you son of a bitch. And so I called my wife, who was not my wife at the time, and said, "Dude, I need you to get me a walker. I got to start. I got to get out of this bed." And it took me a year to get back into shape where I could start working with people again. And I went back to that same place.
Wait, it took 1 year to get back into shape where you could start working with people?
Yeah. 1 year, man. I just never gave up with, man. I did everything I was supposed to do and a little bit of what I wasn't, I've never really been a great rule follower, but I knew if this hurts, I shouldn't do it. And the first time I ever picked up a pair of dumbbells, I used my walker to go down to my little gym in the backyard, man. I grabbed a pair of 2-pound dumbbells and I sat in a bench and I tried to curl them. And honestly, bro, it was like,
wow.
It came up like that, bro, and I set them down, man. And I just had a big boy cry sitting in that bench, man. What the hell am I going to do? How am I going to come out of this, man? This is nuts. But every day I walked to a different house down my street and walked back. Every day I went back out to the gym. And I actually bought into the P90X thing at the time, man. That's how long ago this was. And
Me too, man. I love that shit.
Dude, life-changing. The yoga program fixed me. That just got me moving. It got me mobile. It got me strong. And then I moved. I moved in 2008. I moved into that first commercial location at 1,000 square feet. I had several trainers working for me at that point. And then I moved 9 years ago from there to the 7,000 square foot facility that we're in right now. And we're in the last year of that lease. I have to be out of that building. I'm going to be out of that building on December 31st. And we're walking through new buildings now that are 14,000, 15,000 square feet. So now we're gonna make it, even post-COVID, man. It did not take us out. We were very fortunate to pull.
You are just so good with the transitions, bro, because so that was literally the next thing I wanted to talk about was staying active in 2020.
Yeah.
Because I've had conversation and my doing this podcast has been a blessing for me. I've had the opportunity to sit down with people and, as a musician, I've created a career where I've met so many people from so many different walks of life. And it's been fun to sit down with them and really jump into their story and jump into what makes them unique and what makes them stand out from others. And it's been amazing to sit down with entrepreneurs, with business owners to see how 2020 how it has affected them, but also how they have pivoted on stuff and made it just, they got to make it happen. So they make it happen and then they're going in a new direction. Mm-hmm. So the next thing that I want to talk with you about, because literally what piqued my interest was because we're friends on Facebook and we're friends on Instagram and we're friends, yeah. But what piqued my interest, I saw you post something on on Facebook. And it was, I want to say it was like December or something like that. It was right before I started the podcast, and you had posted something to the gym, to all the people that were going to the gym. And you said, hey guys, we're getting like 17 feet of snow tomorrow, so the gym's not going to be open or something. And that got me thinking, because in California, we don't have that problem. The least we have is maybe, a light shower, and then everybody freaks out. But 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 when I saw that, it really got me thinking, like, oh my gosh, like you have like weather issues that you have to deal with, and then on top of that, you had to throw 2020 on top of that. So
craziest year ever, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah. So
we came right off the ship. And we were
my God.
to get back on land, man. And we even said when we got off the boat, it's always such a procedure. You got to wait. You got to go through customs. I mean, we basically walked from the ship right to the taxi. And
they were like, get off this boat now.
And don't touch anything. Just get out. And then we landed in Philadelphia International Airport, which is one of the biggest airports in the country. And my wife and I are getting off the plane, and there was no humans in the airport. There was pigeons walking around. I'm like, this is a zombie apocalypse.
That happened to us when we got back, because when we're on the cruise, you know how it is. We try not to turn on the TV. We try not to, yes, you want to stay up to date, but the whole reason why you're there is because you can literally go back to the 80s, because like you said, your phones don't work. So I don't know if there's any people out there that grew up in the 80s, but when you were in the 80s, if you couldn't just text somebody or call somebody, it was like you call their house. If they don't answer, you got to call your friend's house and see if they're at your friend's house. And then you ride your bike around and you're like, oh, everybody's over at Tim's house. So that's literally how the cruise is. When you get there, you'll call rooms. They didn't pick up. All right, call the other room. They didn't pick up. All right, they're probably by the pool. Let's just go look,
Get on your bike and ride, bro. Right.
So I remember when we got off the cruise, same thing. We flew back to LA, and LAX is a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. So we got there, and as we're going, we're seeing all this stuff, and it was like, there's no toilet paper and there's no this, and I'm like, on the cruise, I'm like, this can't be reality. This is just bullshit. We get back to LAX, same thing. No one's there, and we got home super quick, and we were driving home, and I was like, let's go to Target real quick and let's just double check on this shit. We get there, there's no toilet paper. And I'm like, I leave for 2 weeks and y'all can't hang together with it? Like this is what happens?
It's madness, dude. Total madness.
So anyways, off of that tangent, which was crazy, but moving forward in from that point and then into 2020, when we had some lockdowns and stuff, one of my questions about staying active in 2020 was, I understand that, like when you first started your business, you had a business model, you had a business plan, you had all this stuff. So now you have this big gym and you have this. How did you have to change your business model in order to adapt to what 2020 was throwing at you?
Yeah, it was instant, man, because we got back off the cruise on the 15th, and on the 17th, the governor of Pennsylvania shut us down. So we had one day at work, and then that was it. And there was, you'll read stories about these guys in Belmar, New Jersey, who decided to just throw their middle finger up and stay open. There were some businesses around me in the fitness industry that decided to stay open. My business in particular, we're not a gym. We're not about weight loss. What my business is built on health. So I had a really tough choice. If I stay open, then I'm going to damage the reputation that I built on health and compassion and taking care of people that took me 20 years to build. I got to follow this rule. I got to close. What am I going to do? Now, prior to this, man, since probably 2007 or 8 even, I always tried to build an online business, an online training business. But, like yourself, if you and I didn't meet, how am I ever going to work with you in California when you don't know who Marty is in Pennsylvania? Forget it. You would never do it. So if you're not a celebrity or you're not Jillian Michaels, nobody knows who you are. They're not going to pay you any money. And I could never do it. So I made an instant decision. I came home that day. I opened up the computer. I started Googling Zoom, trying to figure out what to do, and sent an email and text messages out to every single person that comes to the gym and said, look, this is what's happening tomorrow. You can either personal train if you want, or we'll do group classes. The long story short there, I instantly lost what makes us our money. About 80% of our personal training business just said, no. I like your gym. I like to come there. How am I going to get a workout at home? So we did two things. The people who did want to train, I literally filled my truck with every barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell, band, and ball that I had, and I drove to everybody's house, and I left it at their front doors. I said, got to open your door. Tell me what you want. I'm your delivery guy. I'll drop it off. It's clean. And then you bring it in the house after I leave. So we delivered all of our equipment out. And then at the time, we were probably only doing about 8 group exercise classes a week. And we bumped that up to about 22. So my wife and I just spent our lives like everybody did for the first time in our lives, right in front of a computer. Sometimes my computer was open, her computer was open. We would go to the gym anyway and do it from there because we still had some equipment there. My other 2 trainers were on their phones, on their computers. So in an instant, we had an online business that started with our community that once the 2 weeks didn't flatten the curve, and it kept going, then they started talking to people. And I'm going to say this again, God bless the 80s crews and the people who know me from that, because then those people started reaching out to me. How can I become a part? Some of them, and I know this and they'll never admit it, they just paid the fee for the online classes to help out. They just wanted to help Marty and Linda stay in business. And they're wonderful people, and you know who you are if you're watching. Some of them I'm still working with right now. The McNallys, they're with me. We got some killer people online with us doing nutrition, doing group classes, doing one-on-one personal training. So all of a sudden, come to December, that pivot we made gave us a residual income that we never had before in the history of the business. That in its own self was enough to cover all of the business's operating expenses. So now we have personal training and we have nutrition work that's over and above that. So all this time we're thinking, man, our lease is up. We had planned this giant expansion and we're going to lose it. But we actually have come out of the COVID experience twice as strong as we went in, because we hustled our asses off. We decided not to wait for everything to just go back to normal, because it's not, man. And it's not going to be for a long time. So,
well, also, I think I want to go back to what you said about the 80s crews, about cultivating those relationships with those great people. Everybody that goes on that cruise, I'm in the same boat with you. We had to pivot as well. And we had to find a digital platform to do music, which is something completely foreign to us. I mean, our stage was pulled out from underneath us on March 17th, we didn't know what to do either. So we had to go and learn about audio, having new microphones into a digital interface, having a webcam, doing this, being able to look at the comments and look at this over here and look at this over here. So doing all this stuff is very foreign, but that was one of our pivots. And I'll say it once again as well. God bless the 80s crews and the people and the relationships that we cultivated there, because there were times, like you said, there are times that we did live streams and we'll play songs and we ask, and we say this because we know that there's people that are doing great. And we know that there's people that are struggling. And if you're struggling, come onto our live stream, listen to some music. Hopefully we can take you away from your bullshit for a minute, and you can listen to a cool song and have a good time. If you're doing great, hey, we've got a virtual tip jar, and hey, we could use a couple bucks. That'd be awesome. And I'm telling you, man, the generosity from the people that we have met has just been absolutely overwhelming. The people that have tipped and helped us get through that time. So, it's funny how I wanted to talk about fitness with this podcast, but it feels like we're talking more about the 80s cruise than anything. But it's just, it really is, it has been I think that is kind of like the anchor that has brought us together.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, the peaking of my interest was the 2020 and your fitness and your gym. So another thing with 2020, And with the pivot that you made and refocusing and stuff like that, is there anything about how you changed or how you had to change your business model that you might keep? Like, is there something maybe like some of the online courses, or is that something that might be beneficial that you might keep? Or when we do go back to a time when we can be completely indoors and everything, you'll go back to your original business model? Or is there something that you learned from last year that maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to keep this on because it's a great idea?
Oh yeah, with the business that we have going right now, it can only get better. That's the way I see it. And I'm working with some people who I trained in my facility for 20 years are telling me, look, I like this now. I'm never, and don't take this personally, I'm never coming back to your gym. I don't feel like going there. I don't like it. I don't want to be there. I don't have to drive. I can do this. So
it smells. I don't.
And I think the reality of some of that is, because now that I can't give them a pair of 50-pound kettlebells anymore, man. Right? I can't find any online, so you can't give those to me. But we continuously I just got another a pair, husband and wife, of personal training clients in New Hampshire. So we have this giant map, the wall map, that we would never have that in our gym, but we ordered it on Amazon. And every time we get another one, my wife and I walk up with one of those little red sticky pins and we stick it in another state, in another town. And, God damn it, it's starting to get filled up. And who would have known that? So getting out of here we go, way back to what I said earlier, thinking someday that guy who taught me my first personal training stuff said, someday, if you're beyond good, you're going to be the kind of personal trainer that people know outside of where you are. And I feel like I'm breaking into that right now. I've been at it long enough. People can see that I'm passionate about what I do. The type of community service that we do, we donate about $25,000 a year to local children's programs here where we live, directly from the business. We hold several special events at the gym that are completely by donation. We give them to the Youth Police Academy in our town. We give them to some of the local schools. We give them to homeless shelters and that have children in there that can't afford to go to schools. They can't afford to go to summer programs. So we donate to them so that they can get to programs on their own, or we're paying for bus transportation for them. The giving back that people did for me when I was broken has led me into that. And it keeps us in a very positive light. It feels good to give back, man. God damn, it's one of the greatest things you'll ever do as a human being. If you have never done it, do it. Just even if you're just paying it forward at the drive-through, man, that. It's amazing. But no, our business model, I think, is forever changed. And I look forward to seeing what's going to happen next, whether it's a disaster again or not. That's going to force me to make another change, because I feel confident that with the team I have and the support I have with my amazing wife, that, there's nothing that's going to stop me at this point. So,
well, I'll tell you what, man, I really look forward to, I want to work with you. So I want to be one of the dots on the map.
Yeah.
You got to have a dot in Huntington Beach, brother.
Yeah.
So I look forward to, I'm going to chat with you afterwards, man. And we're going to talk about some stuff, and we're going to figure something out. And I would love to do a check-in with you maybe in a few months. And maybe a little follow-up podcast, I think would be great. And but we got a few more comments that I wanted to touch before we bounce. We got my neighbor up here, Brett. Roll out to Cali, bro.
Yeah,
let's all ride motorcycles out here. Get a bike. Yeah, I need to get a bike again. I actually had a '99 Yamaha V-Star, and it was
what an amazing bike that is, bro.
It was shaft driven. It was one of my favorite bikes. That was a blast. But Brett, I'm in the market. I will be in the market soon. I'm gonna be looking at like a 2018 Indian.
Yeah, dude, these Indians are looking badass, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll make that happen. We got Jen from she's in Texas. She's from the 80s Cruise, one of our good friends. Love you, miss you. Can't wait to hang out again in another year. And my beautiful wife, it feels good to do good. I like that very much.
It's
So
pretty amazing stuff.
So you know what? So to end this podcast, we did go over by about 25 minutes, which is okay because I thought this was a lot of fun, a great conversation, and man, it was just so much fun connecting with you again. So right now, I'm just going to give you the stage. Please let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, where they can reach out to you for questions, nutrition, workouts, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Facebook savvy. We've got a lot going on Facebook. My personal page, which I'm on all the time. I've learned now to deal with their 5,000 friend rule, and I've kind of hit that point. So I don't have much room to add anybody to that, but it's a public page, so you may be able to see what I do there. But I also have a public profile page. You'll find that simple enough. Martin McLoughlin, as it's spelled here. You did it right. You'll find me there. You can like that page. It's not like a friend thing. You can also look for us on Extreme Fitness Personal Training. You'll find our page there. We have some other group class-oriented pages, but the main place to look for us is Extreme Fitness Personal Training or my public profile page. On Instagram, we're at Extreme Fitness Training. And, if you find me, the Mohawk makes me pretty recognizable. I try to keep that on all my profile pictures. There's a lot of Marty McLaughlins out there, I'm sure. I've been wearing the Mohawk for about 10 years, and I love it. I'm not going to change it. As somebody else told me in business, branding is everything. So it works well for my job, and I love it. I love it. I love having it. Anyway, you can private message me anytime, man. I'm really busy. My private messages get flooded quite a bit, but be patient. And I always look them over. And if it's something I feel like I can help you with, you're going to get help from me. I will respond. I always do.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for staying up super late and jamming with me on the 5 Foot Viking podcast. I'd like to remind everybody that next week on Tuesday, March 23rd at 7 p.m., we're going to be joined with Jim and Brenda Wooten, and they have a show that they do that is called World According to Woot. And they're just great human beings, incredible people, and looking forward to having them on the show next week and talking about how they got started with all of this and what they're up to. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys' support. Definitely. You can always find everything at the5footviking.com. You can look at past podcasts on Instagram or on YouTube and Facebook. You can also look at them from all of the platforms that you want to listen to them. And with that being said, Marty, I love you, buddy. And I'll talk with you soon.
Pleasure. Definitely.
And I think this is how you